I will be giving you a tour of our Medan campus. Come along and let me show you around. As soon as you enter the university gate, the first thing you will notice is the Friendship Library. When I first came here to study, I was blown away by the amazing architect design of this building. The library contains so many different books. One of the best things about this library is that it also has modern cataloging software. And that's not all. Upstairs you will find the Nosa Library, which was named after the late Archbishop of Medan, Adolf Nosa. The main objective of Nosa Library is to...
Yes, Radia.
You may wonder why it's called the Alumni Park. Well, come along and let me show you. Each year, Divinewood University awards alumni for their outstanding contribution towards society and professionalism. These are some of the alumni that contributed towards society and professionalism.
And reply to us. And reply to you finish it. Chief, can you hear me?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. It's ready. Okay, we're going to start now. I'll introduce you first and then we'll start.
Okay.
Good afternoon, the final year students, I believe, from FASS. Good afternoon, final year students. This program is an enrichment program for the Center for Learning and Teaching. It's initiated especially for final year students to prepare them for life outside of the university campus, especially in the working environment and the real life challenges outside of the university. This afternoon we have one of the prominent journalists, Mr. Scott Waide. Is the former bureau chief of MTV. He's began his career with MTV in 1997 as a news and sports reporter for over 19 years. He's also a producer and a researcher with the ABC Broadcasting Corporation at the Port Moresby Bureau. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Waide will talk to us about the role and challenges PNG journalists faced outside of the outside in the real working environment for journalists, and he's also going to touch or highlight on issues he has covered, especially for social issues in the journalism perspective. Sit tight and prepare many questions as you like to ask Mr. Waide after this session. Thank you, Mr. Waide.
Okay, thank you, Martha. Can everyone hear me? It's okay. Yeah. Anyway, so I've been asked to talk about the challenges of the media and the challenges of journalism as a whole. But I'd like to start off by talking about why we need to tell our own stories. And journalism, I joke a lot of times when people ask me what journalism is like, and I tell them that journalists are nothing more than glorified storytellers. And we choose the issues that we need to highlight and just stick to the facts. And occasionally we talk about opinions. And one of the, let me take you back to 2002. 2002 was election year, and I was in the Sundown province, and I was doing, I had a short stint outside of the media, and I was doing a series of research projects for the National Research Institute, and it took me to so many different places, and among those places were places like Telefomin, Nuku, in the Sundown province, Aitape, Yangkok, all those places, and they were very, Oksapmin, and they were very, very difficult places to get to. And they, in order to get there, you had to walk for several days into the villages and walk over rugged terrain. In one instance, it took us a whole 2 days to get from one end of Telefomin to the other. On another occasion, it took us a whole day walking from Telefomin to Urapmin, which is deceptively close on a map. On a map, it looks like this, 2 points. What the map doesn't tell you is that you have to go down 6 hours in a descent until you reach the headwaters of the sea peak, and then do another 6-hour climb. By the time we got to the head of the mountain, it was 6 p.m. in the afternoon. We were just battered and bruised because we were carrying cargo folders for research. And the research was about medicines, health, and education. And that gave me, those trips into those rural areas gave me unique insight into the difficulties faced by Papua New Guineans, because I'd never really understood it. I was a Kiap son who grew up in rural areas, but I lived a rather protected existence. And while we went to various different places, I really didn't understand the difficulties that ordinary Papua New Guineans faced, even though I grew up in rural areas in the Eastern Highlands and Morbe. But having walked on my own, seeing the difficulties, we witnessed several deaths along the way at aid posts. We recorded them. In one of those instances, we were in Nuku, in the Sundown province. We had just reached an aid post, and we started interviewing this aid post orderly, and he told us that I just sent off a father who had to carry his son and run to the Nuku Health Center, because I said, if you don't run with your child to the Nuku, to the health center, he will die here at this place. So the father carried the child in his arms and ran for at least 2-3 kilometers. And when he got to the aid post, when he got to the health center, to the station, the child had already died in his arms. When we went to Oksapmin, I spoke to teachers and health workers there. I was doing research, but the journalism instinct just came out, and I started talking to them about what's life like in a place like this where there's no road. And one of them said, when our kids die, when a baby dies at birth, the father just takes the baby behind the house, wraps the body up, and then buries the body. There's nothing like a house cry, no sadness, no sorrow, because they've come to accept deaths, infant mortality and maternal mortality as part of life. And why am I bringing up all these stories? I bring up all these stories every time I talk to audiences and I talk to students, because whatever you do in life, there has to be a purpose. You cannot just go out and want to get a job to get paid. If you live a life like that, your life will be so empty, and you will continue to find a purpose in life. So those experiences gave me new fire to come back, because I had been at MTV for at least 2 years. I was facing accommodation problems, and I left Port Moresby and went away. and I spent 4 years in Vanimo. And whilst there, that was one of the things that I did, and it gave me this huge insight into the realities of rural existence in Papua New Guinea. And I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to come back and tell those stories, and it gave me, because it was election year, and you could actually see how politicians were campaigning to get into that power, to get into the seat of power. And having come from those rural areas, rural places where, you know, people were dying, I had seen deaths, I'd seen heard reports of maternal and infant mortality in the villages, with people accepting it. I was very angry. And I wanted to really do something, but what could I do? And when the opportunity came to return to MTV, I took it and I went back. And that was that gave me the avenue to start writing about these things, to travel to places that people didn't want to go. And at one point in the last 10 years, I sent off a crew of 2 to walk the same places that I had walked. Telephoned to Urapmin, I sent a crew there. By the time they got there, they were battered and bruised, but we got a really good documentary out of it that showed the difficulties that people were facing in those areas. And coming back to the importance of storytelling, when you start telling a story from your own perspective, it is important that you tell it from the heart, because you can't really tell it from here. When you think about a story and you don't really feel the story, it becomes another article that you've just written for publication. That the role that you play is just another job if there's no purpose in it. So that's become like a mission that I've tried to pass on to other younger journalists, to other people, and to students, not just journalists, but every single student that is studying for various fields. For example, the health administration students that I spoke to last year, one of the questions was, how can we work together with the media? And my answer was, tell your stories to the media. Talk about the difficulties that you are facing in your line of work. Talk about the medicine shortages. Talk about the maternal and infant mortality rates in your particular locality. Because in effect, you are an expert in your field, in your locality. And if you don't tell your stories, nobody will know about it. If you wait for your boss to tell your story, you're passing on that responsibility to somebody who doesn't understand your difficulties. If you are a PNG studies student doing research in a remote location, and you wait for your boss to tell you to release that report, you're passing on that responsibilities to somebody who doesn't understand the difficulties that you went through to get that story, to get that research done, and to do the work. So it's important to tell those stories from your perspective. It can be on social media. It can be a series of images. It can be connecting with a friend who's in the media and getting them to come to your location and tell your story from their perspective, but guide that story along. It's important that Papua New Guineans take stock of the importance of their own, of the value of their stories, because right now we wait for somebody from the outside to come in and tell our stories. When somebody else tells your story, they have a control over the narrative of your present and your future. They can destroy your past by telling a totally different narrative for the future. And one of the things that I've tried to also encourage young people to do is write and tell your stories. If you can't write effectively, but you can speak, record a video every day, tell a story. Go to your elders in the villages. You know, when you spend holidays in the villages, speak to your grandparents, speak to your older uncles, speak to your older cousins. Tell them to tell you about your culture, your language, and learn about it, and then tell that story or interview them, record them, and then post it online so that those stories are protected and preserved for the future. That's the role of the media in Papua New Guinea. The role of the media in Papua New Guinea is to tell our own stories from our perspective so that it is powerful enough to cause change. A story that doesn't cause change is a story that is not of high worth. You have to have an impact in society. You have to have an impact on your country. You have to have an impact on your family and the people younger than you. And that's the message that I try to always bring to various audiences that I speak to. We have the tools at our fingertips. We have mobile phones. It's a vastly different world from when I was in school. When I was in school, we didn't have the tools. We had to struggle to make things work for us. But now every kid in university has a phone, has a cell phone, has access to microphones, has access to video, and access to a platform upon which you can grow an audience. And it's an important tool that is being abused and being underused in a country like Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea is very rich, and every young person should be telling a story, should be telling a positive story that actually builds a country. I think Tok Blomi coming up also, so possibly got some question. You note I haven't really spoken about journalism, but I've spoken about storytelling. And that's what journalism is about, and that's what the media is about. The media is about storytelling and the platforms upon which we place those stories and the audience that we're trying to reach. So that's my talk for today. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Students, any questions? If you have any question, you can come up to the front and ask a question. Don't be shy. Do you have any questions? So I assume you all know what Mr. Waide is talking about. Or you all have experiences in the mainstream media already, so you don't have any questions? Now would be a good time to ask questions. Mr. Waide, would you care sharing your experience with the students to motivate them to ask some questions, apart from what you've said already?
Yeah, okay. I think you know what question. So bami tuk one bla lili tuk. One bla big problem. Bami tok pisin. So you may all get understanding. One bla big problem no country blame and man no asking question. Plenty blame no asking question. Long or leader blame plenty blame no asking question why corruption exist. Plenty blame no asking question why education system blame and bagrap. Plenty blame no asking question why you no got marasin. Time you know asking question you stop see. All manu said ting blongol no straight by come bagrap country blame. So question am also by me migi monam. By you me one by migi monam. You talk long. I'll give you an example of the 1980s. 1980s, we didn't have 1980s and early 1990s. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have mobile phones. But university students in UPNG and Unitec were the most politically active, and they were campaigning for things like Kanak independence. They were campaigning for things like West Papuan independence. They were very politically aware. They were asking questions. They were asking about why foreign governments were occupying. The French government was occupying places like New Caledonia and Tahiti. They were asking questions like why the Indonesian government was oppressing our people in West Papua. And that comes from being politically aware and asking questions. If you go to a press conference now in a media conference in Port Moresby, there's very few people asking questions at the Prime Minister and asking questions to the politicians who sit in the seat of power. When people, ordinary Papua New Guineans, and when people in universities, students in universities don't ask questions, we end up with a country that's so damaged and so far into this corruption, this quagmire of corruption, that we can't really fix it. And the reason why I've always been in trouble is because I've tried to ask those questions, just go out and ask and offend people so much that they come out and explain why they're doing the things that they're doing. So it's about asking questions. So I would really appreciate if somebody put his hand up and ask questions. So I'm challenged Blumi Libla.
Up in front, then you can stand at the back and ask a question. Eddie. Yeah, we have one question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Waide. First of all, thank you for having this session with us. I just have one question. Let's say to do with. I just want to ask your opinion on what's your opinion on the current climate of journalism in PNG right now, especially in the mainstream media, our main dailies and television. Yeah, basically the mainstream media. In your opinion, do you think we're doing okay, or should we students who are studying this field when we graduate, should we do more in that field right now? So yeah, it's just your opinion on the current climate in journalism in PNG. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm planting question kind of semi-sexy, but advice Blumi Emerson. While you start school, you start right. Now you must start connect with the community blue. You no can sit down inside the classroom waiting to solve by all exam come you work him exam and then work him assignment and you have to start connecting with your community. Community around you, you must go na sit down talk online long up na start right na start using these little skills where you like exercising the real world there. Start working now to school. And it's easy. You can start with your Facebook page. Start writing on your Facebook page. One of the things that I keep seeing is that a lot of young people waste time spending their data and the platform Facebook by posting a lot of rubbish. What you can work in the thing is Facebook is designed perfectly for photo essays and long articles. You can already build an audience, your own audience, by writing about issues of national importance, but with a local perspective. Now, when you do that, if you do that for over 4 years, like if you year one you start in one blog or one Facebook page, and then you start writing long, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're a journalism student or you are from another program. It doesn't matter. You have to tell a story. Because when you go out, everything that you do, every presentation that you do to your boss, or you do it to a board, or do it to a chief executive, or even to a community, that is storytelling. You're already telling a story. So you have to start working within the 4 years that you're there in university. Because once you work on them, but you build them skill set blue. Now skill set blue at time you come out now online start looking more some you produce him one work where quality now you gradually improve over time. Then it becomes important for that person who's trying to recruit a young person into the media. Low answer question blue whether we're doing okay or not. No, we're not doing okay. The questions that are supposed to be asked are not being asked. That's why I made the statement earlier about asking questions. If you don't practice asking questions in university, in school, you will carry that habit into the workplace, and you will not ask questions when the time comes for asking questions. And that has to be something that's innate, something that's instinctive. As soon as one man stop talk, you ask him question. Kind of some. As soon as lecturably stop talk, you ask him questions. So it becomes second nature. And that second nature aspect of journalism is lacking. Like it's lacking in the industry. And as I said, I've been to many news conferences, and it's disappointing to see journalists who are supposed to be very active and vocal be very quiet. And if you are quiet, it's not the place for you. I mean, a place for you. You see Fortnite paid as well. And you wasting time. You have to be mission oriented. You have to go out with a purpose and go out and look for, basically look for trouble, offend people. If you're afraid of offending people, it's not the place for you. Again, answering question whether we're doing okay or not. There's whole different levels to it, to answering your question. One, it's because of the training. The training that many people are getting and coming into the industry is inadequate. And it's not just a problem in Papua New Guinea. No, it's a problem all over the Pacific and Asia. And I've been to many, media conferences where, people in Asia come and they talk about the same issue. Our training is not, doesn't meet the needs of society, doesn't meet the needs of the industry. In the Pacific, we're facing the brunt of this challenge, where funding has been cut. There's a shortage of lecturers. So when people go out into the industry, they're ill-equipped. For example, for myself, I've had to retrain people, recruit and retrain, so that everything that they were supposed to learn, I teach them again. And it's easier to teach the technical skill sets. It's a lot harder to train the mind, and it's the training of the mind that's lacking. It's the training of this notion of being fearless and knowing your boundaries that's missing. So that's why we have politicians getting away with all sorts of rubbish. We have a failed election because we didn't question people enough. So all of that put together is the reason why we're in such a state in the industry.
Are there any more questions? We have 30 more minutes, but if you... One question from Philia.
Good afternoon, Scott. So the question is, from your own insight and from data collected, have you worked out on who is the new tenderer or supplier for medicine apart from Borneo Pacific pharmaceuticals?
That's something that I haven't worked on in the last 4 months, so I'm not too sure who supplies the medicine. There are several suppliers. You have one major one, and then several smaller suppliers, and the health department tries to keep, I guess, a backup. And there may be smaller suppliers supplying, say, anti-malarial drugs only or TB drugs only, or there's a variety of vendors that they can go to. In the event that one vendor doesn't come through with the supplies that they need, they have a collection of vendors that they can go to. So I don't have a direct answer for you, but that's always been the case. And this was revealed during the Public Accounts Committee hearing before last year, when we were investigating the medicine shortages, and we produced evidence at the Public Accounts Committee hearing. Again, coming back to that investigation, when I say investigation, it's not like movie type investigations you see in Superman and Spider-Man. That's rubbish. It took us at least 6 years to compile the data, to investigate, and we went from health center to health center, got everything together, and then put it together. So it took us at least 6 years before the parliamentary committee, Public Accounts Committee, took notice of it, and then called a Public Accounts Committee meeting. And this happened after we called the health minister a liar publicly on Facebook. So he was a bit hurt by it. He went to Parliament, and a few others asked him those questions again. So it comes back to asking questions. It's really important to ask questions and call out people and offend people. You have to offend people.
Masti.
Good afternoon, Scott. There was this Zoom session a few months ago. It was in May. Dr. Selendra Sinj was the one that presented about the contemporary trends in Pacific media and potential implications for society and governance. So he was presenting about the Pacific Islands, and one thing he mentioned about the PNG media was the spin cycle, like how the PNG media, I think what he said was they watch dirty stories and then they, in his time, he said it was media laundering, dirty news, like the same stories. I think they repeat it again or something. I'm not sure. I'm curious about that. What did he meant about the spin cycle in terms of the PNG media that he highlighted? Thank you.
Yeah, it's this is from my perspective. I don't have the benefit of watching that. I didn't have the benefit of watching that presentation, but you can see it a lot in the wire services, wire services like Reuters, CNN, wire services that operate overseas. And what happens is you've got the wire services agencies on the ground instead of the news organizations on the ground. The wire service produce a set of stories and they send it out to their subscribers. The subscribers take those stories, maybe add context to it, sometimes just take the story and republish. And because the wire services are credible organizations, sometimes you don't really, the media organizations don't really check the stories. So what happens is that same story is recycled. It's on CNN, it's on the ABC, it's on Fox News. It's the same thing over and over and over and over. So I guess that's like one example of the spin cycle that's happening on the media. For Papua New Guinea media, it's on a lesser scale. It's on a lesser scale, but it's largely with, in my experience, from because of the exit of senior journalists, that there's a knowledge void, and there's a mentoring void in the industry. So what happens is newer journalists newer people who are going into the system are tasked with writing from press releases. Some just take the press release, republish, add one or two quotes, and then put their byline on it. And you see that same statement with the same words, same paragraphs, unedited, on another news organization's website, with a different byline. And then that is taken up by an international news media organization watching PNG, watching the PNG media landscape. They take that story and then again put it on their website. So I guess he was referring to that, the spin cycle, and that the recycling of news, similar to what happens with the wire services overseas. I think me answer the question, blue or me not clear. Any other questions?
We have a question from an online audience. He said, what possible career pathways exist apart from journalism? From journalists?
Look, the future is very promising for storytellers. If you have a blog, build the audience, you can monetize it when the opportunity to monetize arrives. Right now, we're like 5-10 years behind the rest of the world. So the opportunities now, the opportunities that we have are for the future. But in order to get there, you have to build an audience now. You may be able to monetize TikTok, you may be able to monetize YouTube, but at a later date. You can do it now on Facebook, but you need at least 600 live views in order to monetize. So these are opportunities that are there, and you can grow your audience and then make money from it. That's like one career path. The other is going into, there are newsrooms that exist in the UN. There you can create your own newsroom if you work in a non-government organization. There are huge opportunities, storytelling opportunities in those areas. Papua New Guineans are excellent storytellers. We've been telling stories for ages and ages. It's just that culture of the white man come inside, colonialism come inside, and then people are creating this idea of journalism. So people are giving school or man merilo come inside, line him something, kisi paper, na people go out na write. So we're people talk long career path. But otherwise, anyone can tell a story, and anyone can build an audience. Anyone can take the content that is out there and repackage it and put it out. The thing that bothers me with people who claim to be storytellers but are not, people who are copy pasting stuff online and then posting it on an audience, posting it for an audience. One classic example, and this like freelance journalism, copy pasting all the news organization, I posted there, of page blame, growing audience. That is the kind of model you don't want. Because that is also an avenue to spread fake news and disinformation. And misinformation, disinformation is a huge problem, not just in Papua New Guinea, but overseas. So in order to answer your question, lots of career opportunities. Journalism and the media is just a tool for effective communication. So if you're a good communicator and you can go from one field to another, and still be an effective communicator. The other thing that I try to get people to do is, instead of getting a journalism degree, go and get a law degree. Instead of getting a journalism degree, go and get a science degree and then go and write about science. Instead of doing journalism and getting a journalism degree, go and learn research skills and then use data journalism. Use your ability to research and collect data in data journalism, which is a huge need in Papua New Guinea. We need people who can write and articulate sciences, social sciences, the law, everything like that. In my view, being a journalist, you have to, your learning is incremental over the years. Your value increases the longer you stay. If you get a law degree, you already, you're 4 years ahead. You understand the law, you can write about the law. The only thing you need is to sharpen your communication skills and your ability to write and articulate things for an ordinary people, for an audience that is not well versed in the law. So it's a flip, traditional way where lines are thinking, oh, me sim journalism degree, now me come up journalist. No, my idea is go and get a research degree. Among the people I recruited in the lay bureau were two young women out of Unitec with research heavy skills. And along with Martha, they were investigating these medicine issues and National Housing Corporation evictions and all that put together. So their skill sets are not in journalism, skill sets in research. So things like that.
Thank you, Mr. Waide. If we don't have any questions, we should be running up this session now. We're going towards 2:15, so thank you, Mr. Waide, for your time. We really appreciate the information and the message to our final year students of Faculty of Arts and Social Science. We wish you all the very best, and thank you for your time. And thank you to the students who attended. Thank you, Mr. Waide. You can end this session.